So keep in mind, Trump's roll call today mainly filled with him traveling to Rome. So he's due to be leaving any time from now. Of course, he could give comments to reporters at any time throughout his journey. So we posted a live video on the feed from the Times of Air Force One, where he is due to be getting on board. Trump's roll call today mainly filled with him traveling to Rome. So he's due to be leaving any time from now. Of course, he could give comments to reporters at any time throughout his journey. So we posted a live video on the feed from the Times of Air Force One, where he is due to be getting on board.
Colgate said they're still seeing a soft second quarter.
All right, guys. How are we all doing? Pretty crazy lately, yeah? Okay, let's quickly go over a few things. Let's go over what happened yesterday. Let's go over what happened overnight and after the earnings call from Alphabet, because that was pretty interesting. And then let's have a look at a quick overview of where we are, levels we should be looking out for, and themes that are in play at the moment. So let's start off with what happened overnight. I'm going to bring in my 5-minute chart. Okay. Oh, no one can see me. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Okay. So what happened yesterday? So yesterday we had a pretty cool open test into that POC, and the overnight POC at 00, 3998, 3400 roughly, open tested down, and then we just did one thing only and just bid up, and it was just basically bidding up from early morning. Actually, you can see we broke down through this little blue ribbon here down below 3985, broke down, and then we came back up, we tested back into it, and then we kind of just bid up relentlessly off the back of some possible news off Trump's softening on tariffs, news of him talking with China, but then again we've got the Chinese repeatedly saying that they are not talking, and yet again this morning we've heard the Chinese around about 9 o'clock London time saying that we're not talking. And we'll go through that as well. We've also had Trump come in and say that we've had a call as well with Xi. Are we talking? Yup, I think his reaction was. And I'll show you those headlines and what it means for this market and how it's been behaving with those headlines. But anyway, so yesterday, just go back to yesterday, we open tested and we drove. I said yesterday that the really important area for them to reclaim was, around the 5410s. That was the Friday's POC here. In fact, let me just take a screenshot of this so we can actually just quickly draw some squiggles. So here's a screenshot. I'm just going to do some squiggles. So this was the open test of the overnight POC, but what we really needed to get above was, we wanted to get above yesterday's the Friday settle, which was 5410s, and you can see we opened pretty much at the settlement. We tested back down. I actually took a couple of shorts up here, and then it just that wasn't to work. I said that below that 5410 I was bearish. I tried the short, it wasn't working. It gave me an out, but then it came back up, and then it just climbed, took the 40s, took the 40s area that I was talking about pretty quickly. Actually, it took the overnight high, and then it found support there. Now have a look how these candles, little 5-minute candles, look, it breaks the overnight high, which is a bullish signal in itself, but then it breaks it quite cleanly, and it comes back to test it almost to the tick, and you can just see, I'm going to put an arrow where that is, where that arrow tip is. You can see it just testing back into it. Now that's an order flow. If you're looking at your ladders, it's quite easy to see that. I didn't take that trade. Long story, won't talk about that. But basically, that was a good signal for this to continue higher. And then it just eventually broke the 42 area that I was talking about yesterday. If you have a look at my notes from yesterday, broke up through 42s, the value area. So the IB low from the Friday, and that's this little area here. And then it just marched higher relentlessly. Okay, and one thing you don't want to be fading is a trend open test drive second highest confidence, and we just built up into the close. After the close, we had a pretty exciting earnings call from Alphabet, beat, and then we had this reaction here, lifted into 41, but came straight back down again, really aggressive. But what tends to happen with these earnings calls, especially from the mags, is that there'll be a sort of underlying algorithmic bid overnight where it just continuously be looking for offers to lift. So every time this market hit back down again, as it offered back down again, the algos just stepped in and just lifted it back up again, Eventually, we broke that little area, that 41s, and we set a high of 53s. Now this area here is super important. It's marked out in this big red ribbon up here. Okay, why? Now I'll just explain why that's such an important area and why we need to be looking at that area. So this is my weekly profiles. You can see we've got this big engulfing candle. We took out that prior balance high, which was set at 28, went straight through it. But now we've come back inside. But why is that 50 area really important? Well, look, these are my fibs. I don't really change these very often. This is something that I've just got up permanently on my daily candles, weeklies, and it's the all-time highs down to the tariff lows, and it's just my fibs. I've just got some fibs up there, really simple, basic stuff, 50% level, huge significance, and it's basically just traded, stepped through it, and then found an offer. And there's been a pretty mechanical offer up there. Every time it's stepped up, it's just been sold off. Now, one thing I'd like to add to this offer that we're seeing, it seems to coincide with some comments this morning from China. China basically said that we're not talking to the US. They're stepping up the pressure. They're not letting back. They're not letting Trump get away with it. They're basically saying that they're not talking to the US. Of course, Trump is saying the opposite, but the market's not really listening to what Trump's saying. I think the market's not trusting in what Trump's saying to the market. Anyway, so so this offer is basically we've broken back inside yesterday's range, 55.20s, and then you can see we've just been liquidating lower. So a couple of trades that were really nice were obviously, if you're looking up here, that's pretty scary to be shorting a trending market higher. Not a great idea to sort of take that trade. But then around here, that's the China comment. It was an initial drop, and then it comes back, and this 44 area here was the value area high of the overnight session. That to me is a trade that made sense. This was your protection. You've got those 53s up there. You've got those. You got the lower high from just before the China comment, and then that 44 was a blip up, and then it went straight back down again, and that was a good idea to try to hold. And that's something I did actually manage to catch on. But so that's basically what's happened overnight, and since then we've just basically been liquidating lower, and we've come back inside yesterday's highs. Yesterday's highs is up here at 20, and you can see where we've seen some, initially we've seen some buys there, buys there, buys there, and now we've stepped right back through. So another nice trade was the pullback to settlement. This was something that I spotted as well. It gave you a couple of points risk at worst. If not, it was pretty well. Actually, it was pretty much the tick. 55.11s, I think, up there. It gave you 20 points to the downside. So the areas that we're kind of looking at going into this session. So this is basically what's been going on. Let's just very, very short term price action. Let's have a look at where we are now. And we're just trading in this upper distribution from yesterday. But importantly, we're trying to hold on to this POC. So let's have a look at how that looks like on our market profiles. So this is my prep. So this was the huge move up overnight, up into 40s, came back down again, found buys at yesterday's high at 20, retook the highs. Now we've got this nice little selling tail at the top, and that's a really, really important area. And once again, I'll just reiterate why. It's because it is the 50% of the high to the tariff lows, and we really want to be paying attention to it. Okay. Right, so off this open, what we're going to expect, what the areas that we're looking at. So yesterday we had this multi-distribution trend day to the upside. We open tested to the downside. It was this little blip down, and then this huge rally, taking out the balance highs, most recent balance highs, and then the 2-week high as well. That went in the overnight session, but subsequently we have now come back inside. So as we've come back inside, we've seen liquidation down. Where are we holding? We are currently holding above these first singles. This is the first upper distribution. So we've got, when I say it's a multi-distribution trend day to the upside, that's your first distribution, second distribution, third distribution, and I'll treat each one of those separately. Okay, so it's really, really important to try to break the market price action into areas that you want to kind of focus on. At the moment, I'm bullish as long as this low holds, this overnight low. And one of the reasons I've put down here, watch for the look low fail, is it is quite, short term, we have got one time framing higher. So daily now we're one time framing high after yesterday because we took out the prior day's highs. We've got this engulfing week as well. And I'm going to be looking for buyers to step in. But we are in a news environment and anything can happen. So I really want to try and emphasize that. So you really want to try to, make sure you're covering your risk and not being silly with markets, because they can really unwind very, very quickly, or of course in your favor. But one thing I'll be looking for on the open, or would be looking for, is this, potential test failure or even slightly breach, and then we rebid to take yesterday's high back above yesterday's highs, 55.20s. I expect us to then target this area here. Okay, but because of what I've seen this this overnight session, I expect there to be a lot of selling. It's not going to be an easy area for buyers to get through. I expect there to be a battle. If it does break through, I expect then there to be a big run to the upside as we breach that 50% of the high to tariff lows. So these are kind of my that's kind of how I view things. But currently what we're doing, we are holding inside this area of balance. You can see where these profiles have all been set. You can kind of put this area here as that's your area of balance, and below there, in this blue area, inside this blue area, there's going to be pressure to the downside. Okay, buyers maybe have got caught over exuberance. Markets rallied an awful lot this week, and there is a potential for some kind of a pullback. So how deep we pull back, that will determine how I view things going into next week. And there'll be a lot of information that I'll be gathering from today. So this is a weekly SPOO. Those are my profiles, and you can see this big engulfing candle this week. We took out the last week's lows, we found buys, we've slipped all the way back up again, took out the highs. Not only the highs of last week, but also the 2-week highs. And I'm open to the idea that, buyers are still in control of this, but maybe we're going to have to, step back a little bit. Maybe down to weekly VWAP, and then find buyers to then make the next leg higher. Now, where do I think that buyers are going to give up control? Well, if yesterday's lows get taken, then that's roughly the 50% mark of this this week's profile. We've got this big gap. As long as that gap is holding around that weekly VWAP around there, 55, 59 down to 50, 53.39, I think it is. This little area here. As long as that gap holds, then I'm maintaining my bullish stance on this market. So we're going to be looking for where are the turns, where we're going to look for our trades. I like to trade quite early, looking for quick indications as to what the market's trying to do. The open is really important to me. A lot of people looking at the opening range, thanks to traders like Pax, who have really kind of highlighted that to people. But that's something that a lot of traders have been looking at for years. It's nothing new. It's just something that is being elaborated on by Pax, and well done to him for shining a light on that. But we are currently trading at 59.5. Now, this is this area here. Okay, this is yesterday's POC. Let me get rid of some of these.
The effective Fed fund rate unchanged at 4.33%.
So this is yesterday's POC. So there is the potential, in my opinion, that we open around about that POC, find a little bit of selling, and then hold those singles. If that singles area holds around 85s, then I think this could be a good opportunity for a push back up, and that would indicate strong possibility for the buying imbalance to continue to the upside. If we give up this this singles marker, then that would indicate, and if we start holding below 85s, that would indicate that we're now going to start trading inside the secondary distribution. Remember, we said that there's 3 distributions from yesterday, 1, 2, and 3. We drop the top one, and we start falling back inside this secondary, middle distribution. And where are the areas that I want to be looking at? Well, I've got the 5475, which is the weekly VPOC VPOC, and then yesterday's value area low. Then we've got the singles that starts turning up, and the high volume node from the composite around 55s. And then if we step through that, we're going to go and test that 42 area where we broke to the upside. So I think that there is the possibility of that to happen. If we don't, and we just do the look below fail and we start stepping back up, I'm going to be targeting that overnight high. But there is the possibility that we do give up those 85s, and if that holds, then this could be a sign of a stronger breakdown to the downside, because this market is very, very long this week. Now we have to look at our recency bias, and basically we are daily one time framing to the upside, but only just. But we have to be aware of the fact that there is the possibility that we are just basically looking above and we failed to sustain a bid up there, and then we might fall back, and sellers are just going to take advantage of these higher prices, and we step back down lower. Hopefully that all makes sense. But the key areas I'm going to be looking at, I've kind of highlighted this in my prep for you to have a look at. But the areas I really want to look at is this POC, those singles, and what else? And settlement. That settlement area there is really important. And you can see overnight we've already seen selling up there now, trying to hold below settlement. That is a sign, guys. That is a sign that sellers are right now in control of this. This could just be a bit of a flag before we go back up high, which is why I'm saying that there is the potential for us to do a little look below, fail. So basically, that's the classic flag trade back up to the upside. Hopefully that all makes sense. Trump's talking right now.
As Trump speaking with reporters as he departs for Rome.
Here, let's just look at those headlines that are coming up now. So President Trump's talking, and we've also had the Chinese. Where's the Chinese headlines? China not having any talks with tariffs. They repeated this morning, but Trump's been coming out and saying that they are having chats. But it's really, really important to stay on top of these headlines. At least be aware of them if you're not trading headlines. From my experience at the moment, these headlines are absolutely torturous, extremely dangerous. Be super, super careful, because what you're doing is getting the algos reacting really, really quickly. Best thing is to sit back, wait, look for opportunity, maybe at the scene of the crime. Look for, if it does come back, look for how it holds into that area where the initiation started from. If buyers can hold that area, then or sellers.
Trump says
if
we
it's
will
a
wind
negative
up with lots
headline.
of good deals.
Trump says we will end up with lots of good deals.
There you go. Trump's saying they're going to have lots of good deals. Anyway, so basically, I'd be very, very careful about trading headlines. Anyway, I wish you all good luck. Be very, very careful in these markets. It's very, very easy to get slipped. Yesterday, I had a 70-point slip, 70-tick slip in oil. So it can happen. It's pretty
Trump
scary.
says the tariff plan is doing very well.
Keep yourself.
Trump says tariff plan
safe,
is
trade
doing very well.
according to your risk profile and how much you want to how much risk you want to take on, but don't lose any more than you should. Okay, good luck, everybody.
ECB's president